Hi, everyone. I'm Gold Derby News and Features Editor Ray Richmond, and I'm here today with Ramy Youssef, the Golden Globe winning actor, writer, and producer who also received an Emmy nomination for his direction of the fourth episode of The Bear in season two entitled Honeydew. We'll get to talking about Honeydew in a minute, Ramy, but first I wanted to talk about your experience on Poor Things, just because I'm such a huge fan of the movie. And you had a pretty great role opposite Emma Stone, Mark Ruffalo, and Willem Dafoe, and of course, director Yorgos Lanthimos. Uh, Loved the film and your work in it. How much fun was it?
It was actually it was the most fun. It was the most fun you could imagine. It was more fun than it looked because I think the film obviously evokes a lot of different tones that are varying degrees of funny and horrifying and all those things. But it honestly couldn't have been a more fun experience. And it's like top down. I think, you know, when Yorgos is at the helm, everyone feels creative and confident because he knows what he wants and he feels creative and confident. And I think getting to be on a set like that was really special.
Well, I mean, just to have a movie like that that's so explicit, but bold, and have that be kind of a mainstream release, I think gave me hope for the film industry.
Yeah, it did feel exciting, to have something so original be in the conversation in the way that it was. It wasn't treated, niche. It was kind of treated I think with what it deserved. And obviously, when you have a performance like Emma's, it's yeah, it deserves that.
Totally. Um, Okay, I got that out of the way now. It isn't every day you get an opportunity to travel to Copenhagen to direct an episode of a comedy series. I know the Bear showrunner Chris Storer was an exec producer and director on your Hulu comedy, Ramy. Had this directing gig been bubbling for you since the Bear went into production?
I think we had always talked about me being involved in some capacity, but I actually think Chris had first talked to me about it, potentially playing a role in the show, acting. And then it kind of, grew into this opportunity to get to go do this episode. It was outside the country, it was outside of their schedule. Chris and I have worked together so closely for so many years that he just kind of called me and he was like, "Hey, man, I'm not going to be able to go. Do you want to go?" So I like to say it was really mainly born out of like scheduling difficulties, and that kind of gave me this gift of an opportunity to get to kind of play in Chris's world, which I think he's been so supportive of me, and I think many others. It's obviously really documented, Bo and Gerard and a bunch of us. So to get to go and kind of play in Chris's world was really fun for me.
That's the kind of scheduling difficulties you want when someone like, I just don't have time. You
Oh my God.
need to go to Denmark for me.
I mean, all the best things that are ever happening was because someone else was too busy. And I'll take that all the time. I'd be like, great, pop me in.
For sure. Had you been able to look at scripts or raw footage that they'd already shot for the first three episodes of the season before you headed to
I
Denmark?
I asked Chris, I said, hey, because I think something Chris and I have talked about a lot is, tonal differences between seasons that we think TV shows should do that. It's kind of either a TV show should be incredibly formulaic and doing the same exact thing, like a lot of the classic comedies, like in It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, same group, completely, just self-detesting, hilarious people. They never change. The show, the format is kind of crisp and clear. And it's always like it should be that, or it should be something that you're kind of actually watching characters grow and change and grapple with different things. And that kind of gives you an allowance to play with tone where seasons can feel like different years of somebody's life. That's something we talked a lot about when we were making Ramy. And so with this, I said to him, hey, can I see some second season stuff to understand kind of where you're at? And he was cool about it. But he said no. He said no, just go do your thing. And that was really fun. I got to work with Adam Newport-Berra, who had done the pilot, and I had this couple of week scouting period. I was really supposed to go scout for 2 days, but then once you get over there and you're walking around Copenhagen, you want to stay longer. So I found this Airbnb and hung out for a couple of weeks. took a bunch of film photography, shared it with Adam, shared it with a really great location manager who somehow knew where I was. I just took a bunch of random photos and I was like, I like these trees. And he's like, oh, I know where those trees are, you know, and then we kind of started to build the look of it. And Chris really gave us like a free rein to just do what we wanted to do.
So you were just kind of touring around for a couple weeks, and did what you shot on your still camera, did a lot of that inspire some of the looks in the actual episode?
You know, yeah, I kind of dug it up recently for you know, as we've kind of done a little bit of press around the episode, and I was kind of looking through it because it's been a couple of years now. I guess, well, no, I guess it's been like a year and a half now. And I was like, oh yeah, like a lot of these shots actually matched up with those that initial like film scout that I did just walking around with my film camera. Um and that was, yeah, it was a cool reminder. I was like, oh wow, this was really fun. Like when 2 weeks of just like eating pastries amounts to something, it's incredibly rare, you know.
God, it just sounds like heaven. I mean, for those who haven't seen the episode, Honeydew follows pastry chef Marcus, played by Lionel Boyce, to Copenhagen to train under the renowned chef Luca, played by Will Poulter. I mean, and the energy, Ramy, of that episode was so deep and gentle and different, you know, from the frantic pace of the kitchen scenes in Chicago.
Yeah.
You know, the whole thing feels so meditative and kind of zen, but still kind of quietly tense. I guess that was the intent.
Yeah, I think so. And I think that's something Chris and I talked about, you know, obviously, on, you know, what we've worked on previously on Ramy, you know, we talked a lot about how to evoke something that, you know, had always felt kind of evasive to me, which was a portrayal of religion and spiritual practice that actually felt grounded to something that would be in someone's life. And I think that was a big aim when we were making, you know, a bunch of the early seasons, was figuring out how to tap into that. And then making this episode, uh again, quick conversation with Chris of just being hey, you know, this is prayer for him, you know, this is uh he is totally outside of, you know, the church, the mosque, the synagogue, of the hectic Chicago restaurant. He's just focused on the practice, and he is, you know, this is a kind of monastic thing, you know, a respite between him and this conversation that he has with Luca, with Will Poulter. And you know, how do we kind of create that enclave from, you know, the hecticness of almost what that kitchen feels like city life, you know, and then they kind of, you know, the separation there allows him to really just focus, you know, on the prayer itself. And that was really cool to craft. And I think Will Poulter and Lionel together, man, I didn't have to do much. I mean, those guys are amazing. So it's just I just kind of get out of the way and make sure that you know, we weren't overcomplicating anything.
Did the pace of the episode kind of match the just the vibe in general of Copenhagen? I mean, was it? I always imagined that Scandinavia is just like, you know, everybody's kind of chill and kind of
Yeah.
zen all the time. I don't know that that's true. I've never been there, but it feels like, you know, that it would be literally the exact opposite of you know, of a heavy duty, you know, hurry up city vibe that we have in the States.
There's a quietness there for sure, and there's an amazing bike riding culture. There's a totally different pace, a totally different way of living, you know. Um, and I think that some of that is definitely captured. I think for me, you know, look, TV directing on a show that you're not the showrunner of, it's, I always say it's kind of like being a surrogate. You know, you are told what to eat and then you give the baby back right away. And I think, you know, for me, the director cut that I did on this episode, I knew, because I just know too well, you know, when you're a showrunner, you go in and you're going to cut the show to match every other episode. And so to lean into that meditative, because I knew Chris was going to chop it up, I even gave him, I think, that Luca scene. I think I gave it to him in a oneer, like the kitchen. I was like, I think I sent in a cut that maybe had it might have been a oneer. It might have had like one cut. And then I was talking to him and he was like, I got to cut this up. And I was like, no, totally. I know. But I kind of, I totally, of course you do, but I think I had kind of, let it sit in a bit of length just to, to kind of, again, create something, try to contribute something that's a little bit different from the grind of what they're kind of doing in the Chicago kitchen and in the Chicago episodes. And I think that yeah, some of that is obviously still there, even though there's cuts and all of that. And again, it's how Chris wrote it.
But you were really able to stand out, Ramy, with what you directed, which is, as you said, kind of when you're the director in TV, the idea is to kind of not be too different than the overall, focus of the
Sure.
show. Yeah, that you want to blend in. But I mean, you really kind of, traveled a very narrow road there where you're able to blend in and deliver something completely different.
And well, and again, I think it's a reflection of also a reflection of what Chris wanted. Because I think Chris was pretty clear, like, hey, the design of this episode is to do something that sits out of the tension. And so I really, that whole team again is, I mean, they know what they're doing. It's so cool to just kind of come in and, yeah, be a line cook for Chef Storer.
That's it. That's a good way to put it too. What was your working relationship on the set like with Lionel?
It was awesome. We got to walk around Copenhagen a lot, and just talk about where the character was at, talk a bit about how we wanted to shoot it and what we wanted to find. I think we looked at the script, and there's always kind of a period of simplifying. I feel this a lot with my own writing. You kind of put all these ideas, and a script's just a bunch of random ideas, and then you kind of show up on set and you got to make it something real. And so I had a really nice process with him of just figuring out moving words in certain ways, but really trying to capture the energy of the walks that we had when we were out there, just looking around at places and really leaning into the fact that, we're looking at a character who had never traveled before. And what does that mean for him? And, when you leave home, you're so worried because you've not left home, um, that you're not going to have your safety. So something bad is going to happen. And then there's this episode that actually teaches him that, yeah, you could leave and you can grow and it doesn't have to be bad, and it can be something, really, beautiful. And so, yeah, it was really fun to just have those conversations with him and then also like in the scenes with Luca, with Will Poulter, to kind of talk to Lionel about, and this is Lionel's nature. And I think Lionel's so much of, real Lionel's is in this character. Um, his tender nature can really open people up who don't want to be opened up. And that was a big part of the conversation, which is, hey man, you're just chipping away at this guy and he's going to kind of blossom open just because of how sincere you are. And you don't have to be relentless with him. You can just kind of plant these little seeds and then he's just going to start to bloom open, because of who you are and how you are next to him. And that was cool to see play out.
Was he always going to be living on a houseboat? Was that in the script?
No, that was Tyson Bidner, our line producer on Ramy and on The Bear. When we shot first season of Ramy, we went overseas. We were in Cairo and we shot on a houseboat. And then we kind of got to Copenhagen. We saw these houseboats, and then we were saying to each other, should we continue the overseas houseboat trend? And we just loved anywhere that has houseboats. It's such a unique kind of culture, and it's not everywhere. And it felt truly like such a great representation of what this character was going through. He's floating, but he's still tethered to the shore. And then the juxtaposition of Lionel, and in that cramped space also was just kind of really beautiful. And couple of photos just from that first kind of look at that place almost look exactly like, you know, the frames we ended up getting in the episode, which was really fun.
I hadn't even thought of the metaphor of him floating there. But yes, it is metaphorical. I love the fact too, Ramy, that we're sort of on sort of an edge of waiting for Marcus to encounter some sort of racist pushback there, and then it doesn't happen. Even
Yeah.
after helping that man who had the bike accident, where we're thinking, oh God, now here it comes, and it never comes. Which it really, the whole episode, and I think in part is really a testament to your direction, just feels like a giant exhale.
Yeah, and you know, great writing.
It's where it all starts and finishes, isn't it? I mean,
Yeah.
if it ain't on the page, it didn't happen.
Yeah.
But then we see Marcus, and speaking of the writing, Marcus and Sydney connecting on FaceTime in such a sweet and real way. I
So
mean,
yeah.
just being able to have there seems to be a lot of Lionel in Marcus, which I know sounds dumb to say because yes, of course, he's portraying the character, but
Yeah.
it seems like those two are kind of inextricably linked. That Marcus was created from Lionel and Lionel's nature.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think that is part of the magic of that show. You know, I think it is such a homegrown, organic, I think good casting really is, you know, you have a character written and you're not casting someone who's exactly like it, but you know, we're all kind of composed of so many parts and moods, and you're able to kind of see, okay, wait, there's one part of this guy in real life that if that's all we zoom in on, we're gonna have my character that I need for this show. And I think that's what I was most blown away with when Chris showed me the pilot of The Bear, you know, way back when he didn't even know if it was gonna get picked up. Um, I was just blown away immediately by who are these? I mean, who are these people? This feels so real. And I knew that, you know, like I knew Lionel and I knew Io, but I just still was really, I felt, oh wow, you've kind of brought these people together in this way that feels uh like this kitchen's always existed. And I think that that's a testament to, you know, what they all do. And I think in particular, what I think Lionel really does, you know, he's the reason this is an episode.
Well, I never thought I could care that much about food preparation as I do watching this show, and
I
especially,
know.
and turning it into almost sport and having your heart be in your throat while watching them is so
It's
different and unique, and it's
yeah.
something I never expected to have as a viewer.
No, it's really cool. I mean, it's really special, and I think even getting to work on the show, you know, I got to stage at a bakery in Copenhagen, and Lionel and I also spent a full day working at Noma, which was an amazing experience. Um, you know, we got to like actually plate dishes and do things together there that I think uh just allowed us while we're shooting to kind of find that rhythm that you could kind of only know if you were able to observe it or participate in it at least a little bit. It was pretty wild, just a couple days between the bakery and Noma. Um, you just get enveloped in the culture. And that was really cool for me. I've retained none of it. I still know nothing in the kitchen, but at the time it was very fresh and we were able to put it into the episode, and then it's just now it's just gone.
I was going to say if there was any cooking or food related thing that you took away from doing this,
No,
but
my like
nothing.
not even my technique around eggs has not even grown. I mean, it's just like it's nothing. No, all I have is the episode.
That's so unfortunate. I'm sorry. So this is your second Emmy nomination for directing. Your first was for Ramy in 2020, I think.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you want to do more directing going forward? Is that on your plate?
Yeah, it's you know, as I explore kind of all the things that I have a lot of fun doing, it is it's really I get so much joy from it because it feels like where everything I love about writing and performance and photography all come together. And I think that's and I just love being around people. I love hanging out with the dudes by the truck when they're bringing shit in. That's just fun. You just sit and shoot the shit with them, and they're unloading trucks. And yeah, I like hanging out by trucks. And I think that's a lot of directing, is like, do you like trucks or not? And I love that.
There you go. Wow. Well, I think we're actually going to leave things there. The Bear streams all three of its seasons on Hulu. Ramy Youssef, best of luck at the Emmys in September. And thanks for joining us at Gold Derby.
Oh, appreciate it. Thanks for taking the time.